post, I'm a huge believer in good sound on set.
Hello, I'm Robert Reber. I'm a aspiring director of photography, and I have a couple questions I want to ask you about. Well, the first one is, when coming from low-budget filmmaking, I don't know if I'm sure you've had the experience working with now the DSLRs have been a big part as opposed to what the digital reds and film. What is your favorite workflow to work with, or the easiest in your opinion? Is that too many questions in one? Do you want me to rephrase that?
No. It's just digital or film too?
Digital first. I have another question for film in a minute.
Okay. I kind of love my Panasonic HVX 200 camera. I know it's kind of old. I got it in like 2006, but it is the best workflow. I shot my second feature on it, and it was really easy because we take the files in, we bring it into I use Final Cut, so it reads the files naturally. There's even a drop-down menu that says look for P2 card. And so I just got used to that workflow, so it was something I was really familiar with. I love the camera because of the lens quality. And so I've used, so I would say that's my preferred choice, but I have used the DSLRs, and I've tried with GoPros as well. DSLRs are great. I think there's a little bit of marketing kind of weird things going on with the DSLRs because everyone's like, oh great, you can shoot this digital movie with a $1,000 camera.
Right.
Well, let's talk about the lens, because the lens that comes with it is atrocious. It's this, zoom lens that has a minimum focus of like this fingernail, And so I shot some stuff not knowing the heck I was doing, and it was really tough to get focus. So I think the DSLRs are great as long as you match them with the right lenses.
Right.
I since have rented some lenses that, wide-angle lenses that have worked really well, but it's a little misleading. But I do like the image. But I think I haven't had as much experience with the workflow of the DSLR, so I'm not as familiar with it. So I'm kind of stuck on my HVX.
Okay. You shot your first feature on film. What was your end resolution or your end product for that? Did you keep it on film and screen on film, or have you down converted from that beautiful picture something down? And how'd you deal with losing the quality of the film?
That's an interesting question, also kind of a personal one, because I've never quite, in my opinion, finished this film.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you through the whole thing. We shot on 16. We transferred it, because this is like back in early 90s. We transferred it to 3/4. That was what they were using as a tape format back in the early days of telecine. And so we fed the 3/4 into the Avid, and we cut, in low resolution, like 4S or something.
Right.
And so then when we did our online, we bumped up to, or we went out to beta, believe that, beta.
Right.
And that was it. I have since bumped it up to digibeta, but when I screened it for friends and stuff and in film festivals, it was just a beta SP. And so what I really want to do is go back to the original negative and cut the negative per the key numbers from the film, and then take that and maybe go to a DI and then do HD cam or what's the other one, the main master HD cam SR, something like that.
So do you see like something like with the technology there? Like, do you see like 4K being something similar to like 60mm or 35mm film, where you always have that good resolution and you could always play in lower medias and always go back to the higher? Like, let's say, I think my question is you could shoot on 4K now, and is it possible, or is it a better solution to shoot 4K now instead of doing 2K or 1080? Because the technology might be coming in the future where you might want to upconvert to 4K or go back to the original source of 4K. Coming from low budget, because sometimes you can't afford it, or it might be just a little bit more to shoot in high resolution.
Well, I think you just kind of answered this own question. Coming from low budget, I would always opt to do just 2K, because I think 4K, there's not enough exhibition for it. I'll give you an example. When I shot my second feature, Come Together, it was on HD. And when we tried to screen it, we realized, most theaters don't have an HD Cam SR deck. And if you did, you'd had to rent it, like $1,000 just for a day. So I quickly realized that the distribution was not up to where the camera specs were. And I think it's still that the case, is that you don't have the format. You can't screen this stuff in a theater or even online, which is where most of the stuff ends up, or TV.
Yeah.
So then the thing is, like I was saying earlier, it's just like you got to know where you're ending up. Like, what do you really need? You know, and people are still shooting on 16. So I really think 16 and 2K is fine. You know, I think if you really want to get resolution, and this kind of brings up another issue, if you really want to archive it, you should be shooting 35 film.
Right. Awesome. Now, and it's another, I guess, going back to the low budget. Sometimes, again, coming from you have the low budget. It says it in the title that not a lot of money. How close do you try to run a set, or try to manage, or try to create a set environment compared to like a real Hollywood set on shooting low budget? Is it possible, or are you just, you know?
I think as a director, writer, producer, I think another title I should add to that is cheerleader. You know, because if you're on a low budget production, chances are people are either working for you for free or very little money. So I feel like you have to be nice, and you have to be encouraging, and you have to respect people's time. So when I go onto the set, I do my homework. You know, it's like I got my shot list. I've done storyboards. I did 2,200 storyboards for my second feature, just so when I went to set, I would not be wasting people's time.
Right.
And people really want to be a part of your production. They really want to be a part of something big. All they ask is that you feed them well and you treat them well. You know, really, that's it. And you respect their time. And so I thought, you know what, all I have to do really is do my homework and show that I'm very happy that they're there. And that's it. That's all. And also the one thing that I would like to say is that you have to be careful, because there's a temptation to get somebody that's really high caliber into your low budget film. But you know what happens when you do that? It offsets everything, because he feels, or she feels like, hey, why am I wasting my talent with these people?
Right.
These people don't know anything. And then those people feel like, oh God, we have this up here. I feel low. You know, I don't feel worthy of this. And I think that messes things up. I think you've got to get everybody on the same level of that's ready to move up to their next job. So you take the assistant cameraman and give him the camera operator, or you take the camera operator and make him the DP, so that everyone's willing to bust their butts for you. And I think if you maintain that positive attitude, you can go a long way.
Right. I mean, I've heard, and kind of harks back to what you said. Is there such thing as a discount crew? Does that exist? Because sometimes low budget people, the people I've worked with sometimes say that we get a discount crew, where it's the person who was doing AC before is now doing DP or is doing camera work. Do you think that accurately portrays of bumping everyone up, or do you think that's just trying to say that, oh, we got this crew for cheap?
Yeah, that's tricky, because you have to get somebody that has experience being a DP, but normally gets a job as a camera operator or a gaffer. So they have to know their craft. And I think there's a couple of key roles on a film set, and you know this, is that you absolutely must know that these guys know their job. You know, when I was screening DP reels, I made sure that this guy knew what he was doing, you know, and I trusted him, you know. And then you have a conversation with somebody, and you know they are who they say they are.
Right.
And then I think, you know, sound, you got to make sure that sound gets recorded, and I think that's one thing you probably need to pay for, because you don't want to chance that either. That's really important. Being in post, I'm a huge believer in good sound on set. But other than that, I think, you know, maybe you can cut some corners. You know, you have to decide with your budget, with your vision of the film, where you can cut corners and where you can't.
Okay.
You know, I would say that.
Right. Okay. I got two more questions. One is gonna be a long, and then the second one's a quick one. The first one is, again, I keep going to low budget. I'm sorry, I keep doing that, but for low budget, how many hats do you wear on set on a regular shoot?
I would say that I definitely wear the director's hat, and having written my films, I wear the writer's hat. So I've got the writer in the back, you know.
Right.
But also, you know, if an actor comes up with a better thing, I'll say, you know, forget the writer in me, that's better, let's go with that.
Okay.
So I use the producer, because when I envision a film in a low budget realm, you have to envision it around the resources you have access to. So, and then partly I play the AD. You know, I've had producers that have helped me to push me, but because you can get carried away with getting a shot right, and then you have to have somebody say, you know, we got to move on. So maybe a little bit of the AD, and definitely the editor. That's one thing that I feel really helps. Kind of going back to your earlier question, with my ability to shoot is I shoot as an editor. So I know, look, we're not going to have to be on this master shot for the entire thing. You know, I just really want the beginning of this and then the end. So skip your lines in the middle to save time and money.
Right.
That kind of thing. Or I'll say, you know what, we're going to start this shot with an insert that we're going to shoot later, so we don't need to get this part correct. So I think really knowing your coverage and seeing the film, and it's a cliche, but seeing it cut in your head really helps, not only just to save money, but to help with the crew morale.
Awesome. All right, and just a quick one. If you had to pay one position on set, what would be that crucial position that needs to have some sort of, or have funding if there's any?
Wow, that's a tricky question.
It is. I mean,
yeah, jeez. Well,
everyone evenly.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it depends upon the job. I mean, sound do sound for free, you know,
Right.
unless you know some sound guys. So usually that's why I say you have to pay. But everybody else sees it as an art working on their craft. But for some reason, you know, sound guys just say, this is my job. You know, so
Right.
I would say put the money into sound, you know, and that coming from post-production background, I appreciate that.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me.